What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Commercial Kitchen Chronicles. My name is Pat Finley. I'm a lead master certified technician at General Parts Group and a certified special trainer. Our goal is to shine a light on what we believe to be one of the most interesting and rewarding industries a field service technician can work in. We love the work we do, and we are glad you're here listening to this podcast. In this episode, we feature Fraser Duffy. This isn't your normal episode. Fraser works at Duffy's AIS in New York, and we want to sit down and talk about what this industry is, some of the things we do, and not just fixing things, just some of the back end stuff and a lot of the other stuff we do. We're trying to spread the word on this industry and get more people involved. Special thanks goes out to Duffy's AIS, General Parts Group, and of course, the Limited Service Group. Without all of these companies, none of this would be possible. So thank you guys and enjoy the show. All right. I am joined by Fraser Duffy with Duffy's AIS in Central New York. So, Fraser, you will give a brief introduction to yourself?
How you doing, everyone? My name is Fraser. As Pat mentioned, I'm from upstate New York, Central New York. I've been in the service repair industry for about 13 years now.
What sparked your interest in the food service repair industry?
All right. Well, I was born into it. My father is the president of Duffy's AIS, and I was born into it, but I was never forced into it. It's something that I always had a deep passion for. I knew ever since I was born that's what I wanted to do. And so when I was 12, I started carrying toolboxes for techs every summer that I had. And pretty much right out of high school, started working full time. Um, I was I was the youngest person to ever take the Safesa electrical test at 14. Um, I'm also the youngest person to ever fail the electrical Safesa test. But I actually scored better than a fully employed technician at the time, so that made me feel a little better. I slowed down. I was really gung-ho in the beginning, obviously. But when I was 19 and after a couple years of working in the field, I'd taken all my tests and now I am master certified. So um, yeah, that's all I ever really wanted to do. And knowing that I was going to be on this podcast, I knew that I had written a little transcript, a little essay when I was 12, and I wanted to read a brief part of that because I haven't read this thing in 20 years almost, and it's kind of funny.
Let's hear it.
So, so it was pretty much about the first day of me being out in the field running with someone. I had never been in so many kitchens in my life. I learned a lot that day. I had learned what exactly it was that I had been wanting to do my whole life. Also, what the rest of my life was going to be like. And man, I wouldn't trade this job for the world. Work ends at 4, but almost every day we end up staying a little longer because we're mostly at other places. I didn't mind staying a little late. Actually, if it were up to me, I'd be at the shop all night fixing things. So I don't know if I'd be at the shop all night fixing things anymore if it were up to me. But my passion certainly hasn't changed. I've always been super passionate about this job and still am to this day. So I thought that was pretty cool to see that.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, if a name like Duffy, you're pretty much born into it.
For sure. And that's a good and a bad thing. There's been plenty of days where I wish my name wasn't Duffy because people kind of see that and I don't know, they just assume that you were handed the job or the
Mhm.
position. Um, Something my father's always said, which is still true to this day, is you got to work twice as hard to get half the credit. And so
Well,
that's go ahead.
he grew up the same way, though. I mean, it wasn't
He
handed to
did.
him. I
No,
mean, I had him on here. He told his story. He started out like you, carrying tools in summer, running
yep,
PMs of 16 years old. He could drive, he worked for everything he had. And you're doing the same exact thing. So that's really cool.
absolutely. And I wouldn't have it any other way. That's what builds a good technician and builds character. So wouldn't have it any other way. But yeah, not everyone realizes that. So people see that name and they kind of assume that. But now I'm a little more used to it, and I've certainly proven myself over the years. It's not just my name. So
I can understand. So my son actually works with me. He's one of our junior techs. He's been doing like probably 16, 17 months. And people are like, "Oh, you have it made because you pat your dad or whatever." And he's like, "No," he's like, I don't want that. That's not me, you know." And I
right,
tell people, I'm like, he doesn't have it made. He's got it twice as hard because when he screws up, I'm not scared to tell him because he's not going to tell on me. I said, but I tell some of these other guys they screwed up, they're going to run and tell on me. So I said, when he
yep,
messes up, I just let him have it. You know, it's like it. You know, when he messed up as a kid, hey, I'm not mean, disrespectful, but I'm gonna tell him, hey, you know, this is what you got to do. And you know, those days happen every once in a while, but most of the time he calls me, he's like, hey, he runs a scenario by me, you know, and oh, you're right. You know, it's like just second guessing himself just because, you know, lack of experience and stuff. But I can kind of relate. I mean, my name's not on the door, but I did tell him if my other son starts working here, they're going to put my name on the door.
yeah, yeah. My dad went out of his way when I was first starting out, 12, 13, to tell the guys not to take it easy on me, and they definitely didn't.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, I wouldn't have it any other way though. So.
Sweet. So, can you share some common misconceptions people have about the food service equipment repair industry?
Well, the biggest misconception I would say is that if you go to tell anyone what you do for a living, they don't even realize that it exists. There's a whole industry of professionally trained people, technicians, doing what we do, keeping the commercial kitchen industry up and running. So that's probably the biggest one. People just don't even realize we're out there.
Yeah, a lot of times people are just like, "Oh, you're HVAC or you're refrigeration or you're electrical or plumbing." Well, guess what? We do all of that plus more. It's
Yep,
one industry where you can get in and you can really see something different 5 calls in one day, or, you know, it's a lot of variety, and that's why I like it.
there's a lot of variety for sure, and I agree. That's why I like it.
So, what are the most challenging aspects of repairing equipment in the food service industry today?
Well, we just nailed it on the head, I think there's just a wide variety of things that we see. I think that's probably the most difficult thing. Um, no 2 days are the same. That's good and bad. um, but yeah, we do a little bit of everything, so it takes a really long time for us to get a grip on the job and get decent at it. Um, but with those challenges, I think come reward. The harder the job, the more rewarding it is. I kind of strive for that now. I don't like the easy jobs. I don't like the
Mhm.
PMs. I want something that's going to make me think and use my head. And when I leave that job, I feel the most satisfaction for sure.
Yeah, yeah, that's for sure. It's definitely you can work on a basic millivolt fryer to an oven that has a touch screen on it that'll tell you everything that's wrong with it, and you know, in the same location. It's just the variety is huge out there. So I think
Yeah,
trying to know how everything works is a big challenge, and you're never going to know everything, but you just need to know enough to get you going in that right direction. I think.
yeah. Understanding the fundamentals really goes a long way. And then on top of the wide variety and difficult things we work on, we're working in difficult locations. There's tight quarters, there's people rushing by you left and right, trying to do their job, trying to get the lunch rush orders out or the dinner rush orders out. Um, so you're kind of stuck in a little corner and limited in your space. And I've been in kitchens where I have to step out of the way, let them by, go back in, check this, check that, step out of the way again, and just gotta do what you gotta do. And we're working with live electricity a lot of times or combustible gases, so there's a lot of challenges. But like I said, I strive for those challenges. I really do. So it gets me up in the morning.
Yeah, there's nothing like working in a food truck where it's like a hallway and you just walk and there's room for one person and you're trying to repair something. I'm like, oh boy, those are not the fun
Yep.
ones.
There's four people back there trying to get by.
Yeah, that's a good point. So, how has technology influenced the evolution of food service equipment repair?
Well, I think most technicians would say that there's a iPad on pretty much everything that we work on nowadays. Um, there's a touchscreen to everything. Even the fryers that are getting covered in grease, they have touchscreens on them. And that's definitely that could be challenging. It's good and bad though. I think it's good when those touchscreens are built the right way. They have test outputs and test inputs. Some of them show you amp draws and voltages, flow rates, water pressures. Some of them could be really useful. Show you error codes and even tell you what the error code means right on the screen. The other side of that is they could be just so complicated. Ones that you've never seen before. You're not even sure how to turn it on. You're not sure where to go to find said test outputs, or they're password protected and you don't have the password for them. So there's that. And then the troubleshooting of them where you're using a meter. It's not cut and dry like most of the other pieces of the parts that we work on where you're checking voltage in and out. Now you have 20 different connections. You need to know where to check and what you're checking for. And it's usually not labeled right on them. So without that information, you're forced to call the factory and get it from them. So it can kind of slow you down.
I think the FryMaster touchscreen has like 4 different voltages in there. I think there's 120 input. There's like a 24-volt AC. I think there's a 12-volt DC and a 5-volt DC. And
Yeah,
I'm not it's ridiculous, and if you don't know what you're testing, I mean, you can misread or misdiagnose pretty easy on that stuff, so they're pretty complicated, man, but when they
for
work
sure.
right and you can use them to your ability, it's so nice.
It really is. Like I said, that error message alone is huge, but they're not all created equally. It's something we're still advancing. So I think for the most part, though, it is beneficial and it'll continue to get better. But that's definitely, to me, a huge challenge that I've seen over the years. Going back 15 years ago, it just wasn't commonplace. It was all mechanics, just simple ish.
So you guys use the same service as us. You guys use RFS or Global Edge, whatever you want to call it, on the iPad and your phone.
Yep.
How does that help your day? Does it make it easier, harder? I'm not sure how long you guys been using it. Did you guys
Uh,
have
we've
paper
used
before that?
we've used it for a couple of years now. We've been digital for at least 10 years now.
Okay, dang.
Um, they kind of pushed us to that direction because that's where the world was going. For better or for worse. It really wasn't to make our jobs easier. It was more of an office thing.
Mhm.
Um, so I would say it's gotten a lot better over the years compared to where we started with all the digital. Um, but yeah, that is nice because it gives you history on the equipment that you're working on. You could take pictures and throw them on the work orders. Um, Papers don't get lost. They're not stuck in someone's van waiting on them to return them. It really jogged my memory to go back that far to where we were paper, but I would say it's gotten a lot better since then.
When I
Um,
when I first started, we had a courier service that'd come in our van every night. We had a tote in the passenger seat. You throw all your old paperwork, your return parts in there, and they throw a new tote in your seat with new paperwork and new parts for your jobs for the next day.
it's like being a post office worker.
Yeah, but they just drive around to all the guys and they just get in their van every night and throw totes in there, pick a tote up and go. And that's how we used to get our paperwork and parts when I first started 18 years ago.
That's that's wild. I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, that's how
Huh.
the company I used to work for here did it. It was all right. Some guys didn't want to get in their trucks, so they put like big boxes outside padlocks and make them put it in there and all kinds of weird stuff. But yeah, that's
Uh-huh.
how we used to do it when I first started. So it's been a wild ride in 18 years. What's come to now? I mean,
Oh, for sure.
you can use. I mean, some equipment you actually have to do startup forms on there. Um, you can look up parts through apps. I mean, books, troubleshooting books, service manuals, all kinds of stuff on there. And it's kind of nice as long as you have signal.
Yeah, that would be key.
Yeah.
Not normally, but usually I would say you can get Wi-Fi. There's only few and far between times when you can't, but yeah, without that, then you're SOL. You got to drive down the road and do your paperwork there.
So, what does a typical day look like for a technician at Duffy's AIS?
Well, we get our schedule the day before. It comes through in an email with all the locations that you're going to. It'll tell you if it's a part in or a new call. So if you have part ids, you make a stop at the shop in the morning, you grab those parts, which are on a shelf with your name on it. You load up your parts and you head out for the day. You go to your first call, which could be anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour and a half, 2 hours away. Um, you check in using the mobile app that you just mentioned, which is also our timesheet. So it's kind of integrated both things into one. So you travel to the call. When you get there, you punch into it. So you're billing them labor. You do what you got to do. You talk to the manager. You ask some questions about the unit. You put the parts in that you have, or you diagnose the issue. Then you update the call. You add your photos. You fill out the service order, what you did, what you found, what you replaced, yada yada, what parts you used, and then you complete that to whatever stage it's on, and go from there to your next one, and you communicate with your dispatcher as needed. Um, but that's one of the nice things about this industry is you're kind of your own boss in a way as a tech. You don't have someone constantly over your shoulder asking what you're doing, or saying you're holding that wrong, you're doing this wrong. Like, we all know there's more than one way to skin a cat. And so having the freedom to skin it how you want to, as long as you're doing your job at the end of the day, that's really all your boss cares about. Um, so that is nice to have that freedom and just be able to go out there and do you, and then you get all the credit for that too. No one else can take that from you. You made it happen. So that's pretty much it. You work till the job is done, and hopefully all the jobs are done unless you had one that kicked your butt and you're way late. Then you got to make a call and see if you could push one off or something. But for the most part, that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Driving around, listening to music. Yeah, a lot of guys I work with, they don't like to drive. I'm like, I don't know why you don't like to drive. I make as much money sitting in my van listening to the radio or listening to a podcast as I do
Absolutely.
working. I'm like, "Duh, you won't pay me this to drive 2 hours? Okay."
Like, just like you said, I get paid the same, so you never will see me speeding. There's just no reason. People that get upset and drive around me, I just wave. I'm like, you must not be getting paid right now. But yeah,
That's
it's
funny.
it's the drives are breaks in between the calls, and you can listen to podcasts, you can listen to music, you could sit in complete silence. And there's been a lot of days that I've done that. For those out there that have kids at home, the little ones that are constantly screaming, know exactly what I'm talking about. The silence is really nice some days.
I my silence is generally reserved for when I just got my butt kicked and I'm trying to reflect on what just happened and how I got to that point. So
Yep. There's that. Time for reflection, whether it be the call or you got something going on,
mhm,
you can't get your mind off of. Those drives are perfect for that. So, I
nice.
also like driving in general, so I've never seen it as a bad thing. Yeah, there are days where I'm like, I wish I wasn't 2 hours. I wish I was 15 minutes, but is what it is. I'm getting paid the same, just like you said.
So what skills are essential for success in this industry?
Um, well, I think having common sense goes a long ways. Uh, that might be something that we often overlook, but if you don't have common sense, I don't think you can really do this job. Because a lot of it just it's simple stuff like the fundamentals. Once you learn the fundamentals, those kind of become common sense for us. Um, the ability to work with your hands, obviously, is a huge part of it, and enjoying working with your hands. Being resourceful, because you're never going to have all the answers to everything. Um, the difference between a good tech and a great tech is the great tech can walk into something he's never seen before and be an expert on it when he leaves, just because he knows where to look for those answers. He can pull up the service manual and be able to read it, or follow a wiring diagram, or call the manufacturer and have a coherent, conversation with them. he already has his voltages, and he's already done the basics, and they can talk to you and understand that you know what you're talking about. But yeah, being resourceful is huge when it comes to this job, I think. With being self-motivated and self-determined, because like I mentioned earlier, it's just you out there. So if no one else is pushing you, you have to be the one pushing you. And if you're not self-motivated or disciplined, then you're not going to go very far in this job. It's going to show up pretty quick.
One thing I like to bring up is you got to be able to you got to be able to talk to people. Now you don't have to be their best friend, but you have to be able to read people and understand. A lot of times they're emotional, something's not working, or they're scared it's gonna be a big bill, or I mean, whatever it is, they're under stress. You gotta be able to talk to people. Now you don't have to be you're not a psychiatrist, but you gotta be able to talk to people and understand what's going on and explain what you've done in a way where they can understand it. I've worked with some great guys that can fix anything, but when they go to talk to the customer, it was broke, I fixed it, and they want to walk out the door, and that's not gonna get you anywhere.
That is a very good point, Pat. And I definitely overlooked that. Yeah, you can't. You're not just fixing the equipment; you're fixing the customer as well.
Hmm.
And you could have a really good tech and someone who's really good at fixing things, but bad at talking to people and bad social skills, and the customer's gonna think that guy has no idea what he's doing. They're not gonna have any trust in him, and they're probably not gonna want him back. Then you could have a really bad tech, someone who just can't figure it out or just started, but he's really good talking to people, and they're going to want that guy back. They trust him.
Hmm.
They like him. So talking to people is huge for sure. You have to win their confidence over. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a very good point.
when I first started, I was young. I was scared. I didn't like talking to people. And then eventually, once I got comfortable talking to people, like everything just changed. Like everything kind of clicked, and customers were happy. I was happier, and it's pretty cool. And I've made a lot of friends, man. There's people I know outside of this industry that I met in this industry that I've become friends with. I'll see people in public, and they'll come up, they'll know my name, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, where do they work at? I'm like, they're not in a uniform. I don't know where they work at. And eventually, I'll figure it out. It's pretty cool. My wife's like, how do you know all these people? I was like, because I've worked in like every restaurant in this town, schools
Yep.
and hospitals and nursing homes. I've made a lot of friends, and I treat them like a friend. I don't treat them like a customer. I treat them like a friend because I mean that's how I'd want to be treated if someone's in my house fixing something or in my restaurant fixing something.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Now that I got enough years into it, that same thing happens to me quite often. And it's like, hey, I haven't seen this guy in 10 years. Holy crap, we're going way back, and he remembers me. That's incredible. So
Yeah,
I
I
do
mean,
really like that.
you are when you're out there, you're the face of the company. They don't
Yep.
see who on into. They don't see the truck. They don't see your boss. They see you. So when you go out there, you are Duffy's AS. When I go out there, I am General Parts. That's who we are when we walk in. So you want to treat the customer in a way that's going to shine well on the name that's on your shirt.
Yeah. And you have to portray confidence in what you're working on, regardless if you've seen it once or a million times. They have to believe that you know what the hell you're looking at.
Dude, there's so many times I've been there scared to death. Like I didn't even know how to turn something on. I look
Yep.
around. I'm like, who normally uses this? And they're like, oh, it's this person. I'm like, hey, can you come over here and show me what you're doing when it doesn't work?
Yeah, show me what happens when you use it. I love that one.
That's my go-to. I taught that to my son early. Like I said, he's only been doing it like a year and a half, dude, and he runs into stuff every day he's never seen, and that's his
Yep.
go-to line. And he's used it in front of me, and I just look at him and smile.
That's my boy.
That's
Yep.
good.
That is a great workaround. But yeah,
Um,
when I obviously look young for my age. I'm 31, but I look much younger. I looked even younger when I was 18 and I first started. So for me to win people's confidence over was extremely difficult, but I had good charisma. I was able to talk to people and was able to get me by. So yeah, I get it. It's tough for sure.
so, what are some of the emerging trends in food service equipment repair that professionals should be aware of?
um, so I would say not to exceeds and third party billing. These to me have been becoming more and more commonplace.
Hmm.
And there's something that we need to be aware of for sure as professionals. Um, on top of the already long list of things we need to be aware of as professionals.
It's never
So
ending.
it's never ending. They're easily overlooked because we go to wherever to fix whatever, we're worried about fixing that piece of equipment. We're not worried about calling somewhere else to check in, or what limit do we not want to exceed, or what pictures we need to take. We're just worried about getting this thing up and running. And now on top of that, we have a list of other things to do, which don't seem as important to us as techs, especially in the moment, but you know, they are when it comes down to billing.
Yeah.
So those little background tasks that are continuously added to us, I would say, are things we need to be aware of, because I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon. If anything, they're just going to become more and more relevant, which hopefully will make it easier for us to remember to do them if we're doing them on every job. That's the other thing. These not to exceeds and checking in the service channel, it doesn't happen on every job. That's half the reason why it's easy to overlook it. So
When that service channel app is working, it is amazing. When it doesn't work and you have to use the customer's phone, it's an absolute nightmare.
yep. Yeah, I go as far back as to where it was all just the customer's phone. I don't miss
Oh
that
yeah.
at
Yeah.
all.
When the app started working, I was like, "This is great." Until it thinks you're further away than you are, and you're sitting in the parking lot. I'm like, "Oh, now I gotta go call."
Or you forget to check out and you've already left and it was 2 hours away, and it's like, great, now I have to go back just to check out.
Dude, I had one that was like 173 hours, and like the office couldn't even check me out of it. I just like I looked, I was like, "That's still on me." I was like, "It's still running."
Yep. I just
That's
hope they're not getting billed for that amount.
no, that's funny.
Yeah.
So, what advice would you give someone considering a career in the food service equipment repair industry?
Um, well, first of all, I would say congratulations. This is a career, and once you get the fundamentals down and you know the job, you are worth your weight in gold. You can go into any trade with HVAC, electrical, plumbing, anything with in regards to what we do. So if this niche job isn't for you, then there's plenty of other things that you're going to have a leg up on already. Um, Secondly, I would say don't give up hope. Um, if you're struggling, your first couple of years are going to be extremely difficult, the most difficult, because almost every day you're seeing something for the first time and you're still trying to understand the fundamentals, which help you through everything that you do. Um, so the first couple of years are the hardest, but stay strong. Once you get through those first couple of years, you're going to be way more valuable and the job will get much easier. Um, Lastly, I would say you get in or you get out what you put in. The harder that you work, the more you're going to get out of it, the faster you'll get better at it. So it all comes down to that self-discipline and motivation for the job, really.
Yeah, I like that. People always ask how I got to where I'm at, and I've I've never said no, and unfortunately, it's probably got me trouble sometimes at home. But I always took on the night jobs, the night installs. If training became available, I wanted to take it. I was at
Yep.
home learning stuff on my own. Searching the internet, finding resources, taking everything I can, and I just really I love this industry, and so anything I can learn about it really just sticks with me, and that's just how I've got to where I'm at.
Yep. I concur.
But like you said, I mean, you can be mediocre and make decent money and get by, or you can want to be the best and you can make the most and you get to do all the cool stuff and the fun stuff. And it's just it's what you put into it, just like everything else in life.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of my coworkers would joke and call me the yes man. Like, see, now you're the yes man. They're gonna go to Fraser for things. Well, that's also why I am where I am now today. You know,
Exactly.
I,
Exactly.
absolutely.
So, can you share a memorable or challenging experience you've had while repairing equipment?
Yeah. So, um, this one took me a while to think about. I've fixed tens of thousands of things. I don't even know how many things I've fixed. So for me to think about one in particular is extremely difficult. Um, but I came up with a good one that I want to share. Um, when I first started, I was a newbie, first out on my own, first couple of years. my very first fryer pump and motor assembly that I had to change at McDonald's. Um, it kicked my ass. It was bad. um, it took me about 5 hours, and everything fought me every step of the way. I can remember at one point in the job, I'd gotten it out and I couldn't break the fittings off the old pump. And I'd called my boss, and he had already gone over like how to hold the pipe wrench the right way and he said all he could say, and all he had left was tough love, which is not something I wanted, but something I needed. And he's like, "What do you want me to do? Come there and fix it for you? Like, do you want me to take the pipes apart for you? I don't, what else do you want me to tell you?" So I had to just, suck it up and get it done. And 19-year-old me is freaking out because it's a McDonald's and they're without their fryer right now, and I'm pretty much having a breakdown. Um, I
Been there.
may have cried a little bit in my van on that job. But eventually I got it all done and I was just relieved that it was behind me. But I remember leaving the job and wondering if I was cut out for the job, if I was going to be able to actually do this, or if it was, better than me, because this fryer just kicked my ass. um, Fast forward about 10 years, and I'm at that same McDonald's, and I'm replacing the filter and pump on that same fryer. And now this is personal for me. I wanted to kick this fryer's ass instead of the other way around this time. And I did. I got this job done in about an hour and a half, which is a
Nice.
really good timing for that job.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's important to me because this job is really hard to measure progress because we work on so many different things. The progress is slow, it's gradual, so it's not something that you see, doesn't happen overnight. And it's hard to measure because you're doing so many different things. Obviously, I knew that I had gotten better over the last 10 years, but for me, this was a way for me to directly measure my progress and how far I've come over the years. So for me to go from that 5-hour job where it just kicked my butt to this where I kicked its butt in an hour and a half was huge for me, and that's one of the things I'll never forget. So
That's an awesome story, man. That's
yeah.
pretty cool that you had to full circle 10 years later, come back to the
Yep.
same unit and changed it. Yeah, I remember my first fryer pump at a McDonald's and an old fry master, and just dude, I was like, "What am I doing? Why am I doing this? Why am I here?" Of course,
They're such a
me,
pain.
I was letting them use the fryer. I had a half push under the hood, and it's just I'm like, man, why am I doing this? And but once you get it, the satisfaction of not giving up, of actually beating it and winning. I mean, it's no better feeling. I always talk about my son because he's my son, and I talk to him all the time. But he had a job that was absolutely beating him up, and I was like, dude, I told you everything I could tell you. I said, I don't know. I said, you're going to have to figure it out. And then like I didn't hear nothing back, and I was like, okay. And I called him, and sure enough, he's like, oh no, I did this, and it came right apart. And I was like, oh, well, that's a cool little trick. It's like,
Huh.
so just that feeling of, being defeated but not giving up and actually winning is a great feeling, man.
Yeah, you have to have a lot of perseverance, but yeah, those difficult jobs are also the most rewarding jobs, for sure. So as much as they suck in the moment, when you come out of them, there's no better feeling.
It's what I like to call secondhand fun. It sucked in the moment, but afterwards it was kind of fun that you figured it out and you won. So it's
Yep,
secondhand fun. So
there you go.
so let's talk about expanding on education on the skill set that makes a successful skilled food service technician. We talked a little bit about always wanting to learn and do it on your own. But what are some opportunities once you get hired in and once you get started? What are some of the opportunities that Duffy's AIS presents to technicians?
Well, for one, we do the CFESA certifications, which are all very in depth. They come with a nice long test at the end. Um, those I think go a really long ways for the technicians. It's not a book that you can just read. You can't just give it to a stranger off the street and then they be a professional in electricity or gas. You have to study those while also applying it to the field. But they go hand in hand, and if you do it that way, they are very beneficial. Um, on top of that, we have some in-house trainings for gas and electricity and refrigeration. And then there are never-ending factory training opportunities that we try to send guys out to at least a couple times a year. Um, I can't tell you how many I have now, but I think those. I always tell guys there's no such thing as a bad training.
Mm-mm.
Um, some you'll get more out of than others, but there is no such thing as a bad training. You'll always get something out of them, and that's what we do for our techs.
Are you guys utilizing the USG University thing yet, or wait until it's a little closer? Or
Not yet, but I do want to incorporate that into some of our job fairs. Um, we're going to be doing some at high schools, and I think that's a great opportunity for those kids before they go to college or decide to go to college. Show them that opportunity. That is very cool. That didn't exist when I started. I wish it did. I feel like that's a huge shortcut into this industry, so I'm very
oh yeah,
excited to see
that's a
that.
great opportunity. You go away for a couple weeks, you study one thing, you come back, you work on that, you go back. 6 or 8
Yeah,
week program, and I think it's a lot of great opportunities. That our parent company is now offering, and I think once we get it all set up across the country, I think it's going to be a huge, huge bonus for us as an
for sure.
industry and as a company. So
Yeah, I'm really excited to see the results of it. It just started, so it's too early to say how it's doing, but I'm sure it's going to do great. I really am looking forward to it. So.
yep, yep, seems pretty good. And Paul, does Paul do your guys' training stuff up there for you, or
Yeah, yeah, he is. He's actually training me to take over or help with them. So, train the trainer kind of thing right now. So it's definitely different. I've done plenty of tech trainings one on one in the field.
Mhm.
Training a class on a subject is quite different. So
So they used to have a Garland and Fry Master program called Train the Trainer, and I used to teach level 2 Garland clamshell grills, and that's the Pearl grills, the new ones. And
yep.
I taught Fry Master level 2, so I used to travel amongst all the general parts and teach that. And then I teach refrigeration, basic refrigeration at FESA once a year. That's a couple guys, and we trade off. So I do it once. I
Oh.
do it in the fall. I really need to change it. So I do it in the spring, so it doesn't interfere with hunting season. But that's just a little selfish there. So, but no, there's plenty of opportunities out there. Like you said, manufacturing, in house, USG University stuff. Cephesa has a lot of stuff we send guys to. So there's endless amounts of training. It's just how much you want to get involved and how much you want to do yourself.
Yeah, it never ends. It really doesn't. I mean, you could come into the industry green and you're with a guy 4 to 6 months training every single day, and they're never ready. No one's ever ready when they go out on their own. At least they don't feel like they're ready. And then you learn a whole bunch more when you're out on your own because now you don't have a guy to lean on. That layer of protection's gone. So there's a whole nother aspect of training on your own, and then you have the continuous factory trainings after that. I love about that about this job. So it's never ending.
I like to talk about when I started. I got 2.5 weeks of training. I was an electrician before I started this. I got 2.5 weeks, and they were like, "Oh, he'll figure it out. Just kick him out and let him go." And
Woo!
oh, that was rough. But thinking about it, I
Wow.
mean, the stuff I seen 18 years ago is nothing compared to what it is now. And then we have guys that have been doing this 30 plus years, and they're training guys, and they expect them to catch on. I'm like, wait a minute, 30 years ago, you could carry a tote full of parts and fix 90% of the stuff you worked on with the same common parts. I said, nothing's common anymore. Some of these
Yep.
ovens have thousands of feet of wire in them. I mean, it's not 30 years ago. You got to give these guys a little more break and explain stuff a little better.
Yeah, just because you started 30 years ago doesn't mean you don't need continuous training as well. The
Yep.
equipment is always advancing. It's never ending.
So it is a great career because there's endless paths. You can go anywhere and do anything. I mean, I don't know what roles you guys have. I don't know if you guys have like a PM tech and you go up from there. So, what kind of career path opportunities do you see in this industry?
Well, we don't have PM techs, but yes, there are endless. endless possibilities. We cover so much ground that you have this on your resume or you have this understanding on you, then no matter where you are in the world, you'll find a job and you'll find one quickly. Um, as far as in-house stuff, um, the older techs that their bodies are starting to give out on them, but their minds are still there. There's a lot of opportunities for them as well. Um, we actually just had a guy transition from tech to sales representative, and it's been a really smooth transition and really beneficial to us because now he's got all the service background. So he's pretty much the middleman between service and office for our sales division. So
That's
um,
cool.
yeah, once you learn the stuff, we try everything to retain them because, like I said, you're worth your weight in gold. All that knowledge in your mind, we want to retain that. So whether it be that or dispatching or training, whatever it is, there's plenty of opportunities, and opportunities are always opening up, even if they didn't exist already. You never know what position they could fill for someone that is a 30-year vet. They're
Hmm.
like I said, they're going to do everything they can to retain you. So
That knowledge is invaluable.
yes, sir.
So we talked a little bit about this career, how it can be tailored to the individual. Some of the guys like new challenges and to keep moving forward and growing with their skills. I mean, there's always new equipment and stuff that you can specialize in. That's just a cool aspect of it. Technology is advancing far faster than we are in these kitchens. And I mean, I remember going to trade shows and there's robots that literally take a basket, will put it in the fry dump station, it dumps frozen fries in there, it puts it in the fryer. When they're done, it pulls them out, it shakes them, it dumps them into the holding station, the hot holding station, it puts salt on them. I mean, so
Hmm.
the things we can do in the future as technicians, you may not be working on a fryer, you may be working on a robot. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a little scary to think about, but very fascinating. If that's where this industry is leading to, well, someone's going to need to fix the robots when they break. So that'll be us.
Yeah, I don't see very many robot guys wanting to go into a kitchen. So,
Probably not.
but I mean, on the other side of that, if you just want to do hot side, you can just do hot side. If you just want to be a beverage guy where you do, coffee and tea brewers and that kind of stuff, you can do that. Or, if you want to be a refrigeration guy, you can just do refrigeration. Or if you want to do installs only, you can be an install tech. I mean, the possibilities are just endless in this career that, you don't have to settle. And if you want to do everything, go for it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I would encourage going for everything. I think those guys are the most valuable, but we're not going to knock anyone. We've had
Mm.
several guys come in that were from beverage companies. That's all they did was beverage equipment, and they come in and that's all they do for us is beverage equipment. That's fine. We need a really good espresso guy, but
Yeah, because that's
other,
not me.
yeah,
My
they're
hands are too big to get those little bitty things, dude.
yeah they're a whole animal on their own. But for the guys that can figure anything out or are willing to figure anything out, yeah, it might take them a little longer, but at the end of the day, they'll figure it out. And I think those guys are the most valuable for sure. But yeah, there's a niche for everything, so plenty of
Nice.
opportunities.
And talking about that, the more you do, the more you're worth. And if you can be proficient at everything or more things, you're going to make more money. Um, and it's right now, it's the sky's the limit. It seems like for these guys right now, if you're good and you can make some money right now. Right now is a great time to get in this industry and get good and learn a lot. And you're going to be all right.
Oh yeah, for
So.
sure.
So one of the best things I love about it is you never know where you're going to be. You're somewhere different every day. You want to talk about that a little bit?
I agree. I love to see new roads. I love to take different roads. I love to see new places, new kitchens, new equipment, hell, new problems. It's never the same day twice in this industry, and I absolutely love that. Take painting for instance. I don't mind painting every once in a while, but I couldn't do it every day. And in
Hmm.
fact, I don't mind putting on the first coat. It's the second coat that I can't stand. because now it just feels like I'm doing the same thing over. I don't even see the results, the changes that I'm making. So, um, I love the vast variety of things that we do and we counter on a day-to-day basis. It's a coworker of mine and I used to say as an inside joke, it's never boring. And you could take that either good or bad, but it's never a dull moment in this industry for sure. And I absolutely love that about this job.
The people, I think another good thing about that is you meet so many different people all the time. There's people I'm friends with in real life outside of this now. There's people I never thought I would be friends with just because, different beliefs, but they're actually pretty cool people. Because I mean, I'll go into a kitchen if there's young people in there and they're joking back and forth and they're goofing off. I try to fill the room and see if I can join in and have a little fun while I'm there and hang out. And I mean, it's just people are actually pretty cool in restaurants, man.
Yeah, they are. And to your point too, those really, as there are many good people, there are also bad people, but
Hmm.
we're one place to the next. So if you encounter a guy that's just a jerk, well, guess what? In an hour, you're going to be on somewhere else. You don't have to deal with that guy anymore. So it's all right when you encounter bad things as well, because before you know it, you'll be on to something else.
Yeah, I've got a customer. I was actually there this morning, and this lady, dude, she reads me the riot act every time I go in there. And today, I always only work on a couple things there under warranty, and like she yelled at me because I put my screwdriver on the counter underneath an oven, a turbo chef oven I was working on. I sanitized that, and I was like, "You put food underneath your oven?" And like, dude, me and her, and today I made it a point. I went in, and no matter what she did, I was gonna smile and be nice to her. And by the end of the day, she was smiling. And I was like, "I won, I won."
Yep, that's it. You gotta kill them with kindness. I always try
Hmm.
to do that, and that's how you win those people over. Just like you said, you just gotta continuously be nice. Eventually, they'll come around. There's been several customers that I have that I'm on really good terms with that were extremely rude to me when I first
Hmm.
met them.
Yep.
And any other tech that you ask, they'll agree this guy is a jerk or this woman's, you know what. Well, they like me. They like me because I've encountered them enough with just continuously being
Hmm.
nice. And now we're buddies. Now we like each other. And they'll ask for me and this and that. Like, how do you deal with this person? You just gotta kill them with kindness. That's it. Eventually they'll come around.
Yeah, that's a great point. So we all know, everyone's talking about skilled trades, so demand, so demand. I think one time someone said that our little niche, our corner of the market was like 8 to 1. There was like 8 technicians aging out for every one coming in. And I think new restaurants, everywhere you go, they're building a new restaurant, a new hospital, a new school. It just seems like
Mhm.
there's more and more work out there and there's less and less of us. So you want to talk about the demand for technicians in the market?
Yeah, I mean, I always thought it was in high demand, and I probably now more than ever. I don't see all the data, but I do know we're in very high demand. Um, for us specifically, I mean, we all have to eat. We'll always have to eat. So the commercial kitchen industry is not going anywhere. Um, and I think the problem nowadays is more and more people think that they have to go to college and rack up tuition debt to have a decent career. When the truth is, trade jobs like ours are just waiting outside of high school, and we'll pay you to learn those trades. You don't have to go into any debt. In fact, you'll make money while you're learning. So I think that's the biggest thing, honestly, that I see is just everyone assumes they have to go to college, and once they go to college, they feel obligated to pursue a career in whatever they took, even though they're young and they're not sure of it. Now they just have to go through with it, otherwise they've racked up all this debt for nothing. So I'm trying in the career fairs that we're doing, we're trying to go towards the youth, the young population, get into high schools, and just get our industry out there, let them know that we exist. Um, like I said, a lot of people don't even realize that this industry exists. Um, and give them an option, alternative. There's a lot of people out there that like to work with their hands, like to tinker with things, and this is a great career opportunity for those people, for sure. And doesn't matter where you live in the world, you're going to be in high demand. 'Cause everyone has to eat.
Yeah, I like to talk about, during COVID, uh, I was busier than I ever was. I mean, they just weren't eating in at restaurants, but the school, the not really schools, but the hospitals, nursing homes, the restaurants were busy. Man, I was working hours like crazy during that time, and it was just a high demand time. And I mean, it's wild to think, but people always are going to eat. If even people aren't eating out, you still have schools, you still have nursing homes, you still have hospitals, you still have all kinds of places where there's commercial kitchens. I mean, you see these big office buildings, guess what? They have a commercial kitchen in there. I
Yep.
mean, they're everywhere. Even some places you wouldn't think about it. I mean, there's a commercial kitchen in there, and it's wild.
Yep.
So demand
Yeah.
for you don't even have to be skilled coming out, just be trainable and be willing to learn, and you can go a long way.
Absolutely. Yeah. The ability to take in, absorb that information and self-discipline. I'll get you a long ways.
So one last thing, what do you wish we could change about this industry?
Well, I just wish it was more known, you know? I wish more people knew about it. It wasn't such a difficult task to get techs in the door. Um, that would make our lives a little easier. Um, I can't remember the last time I seen 40 hours, so I assume if we had a full crew of techs, we may have a better chance of seeing those 40 hours. But yeah, I just wish people knew about us. I wish we could get our name, our industry out there and be known and get more people in the door and we have a more ground to stand on, better picking and choosing of the techs, you know. Um, I think that would help catapult us into a whole another realm of greatness, honestly. And I'm striving for that right now. I'm going to career fairs, which we did last year for the first time. Basically, Albany, our branch in Albany, has always struggled getting techs in. And I went to my boss last year because I was running Albany at the time. And I was like, hey, we've been trying this for years. We can't get guys in. If we do, they don't work out. And now we have better resources and we still can't get guys in. Like, we got to do something. It's like, what do you think about BOCES or career fairs and this and that? And he's like, yeah, that sounds good. Why don't you do that for us? So, like, oh, all right. So, off I went with this new task, and it's actually helped us tremendously. We've hired 3 guys now in Albany this past year. One was a fully trained technician, and the other 2 are green, and they're all still working for us this day, and they're all doing pretty darn good. So um, I hope that is something that continues to blossom for us and get our name out there and and get us in the eyes of the youth so that they know we exist and get the technicians in the door so we have that manpower to become bigger and better.
And you killed it there because that's what I was going to say. Just put our name out there as an industry or show us off. Everyone knows what an HVAC guy is or a plumber or electrician, but there's some people I run into. They're like, "Oh, there's a job for that." I'm like, "This oven costs $40,000. I'm not throwing it away and buying a new one because it's broke." And
Right.
so, yep, I just want to get our name out there and our industry out there and show it off, man. So,
Yeah,
well,
absolutely.
I don't have anything else. If there's anything else you want to talk about or say, now's your chance. If not, we can jump off here.
No, I mean, just thank you for the opportunity. It's a huge honor. I'm a fan of your show, so I thought it was really cool that you asked me to be on here. I definitely didn't see that coming. So, but yeah, it's a huge honor. Thank you very much. Keep doing what you're doing because it's something that I think a lot of us technicians have always wanted to do, just haven't bit the bullet and did it because it's so
Mhm.
much work.
Yeah,
So, thank you very much for it. Keep doing what you're doing, and yeah, thanks.
I appreciate you coming on, man. I'm a huge fan of your dad's, and I'm a huge fan of you now. So I like what you guys are doing out there, and hopefully we get to meet up in the future sometime soon and hang out.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be great. I'm looking forward to it.